Oh, good.
We're going chasing.
Hello there, and welcome to...
We're going chasing.
Hello, now, and welcome to...
We're going chasing.
Now, we have a lot on the agenda, lads, so we'll cut the chase and get straight down to the business.
And welcome to the latest episode of We're Going Chasing. It's Christmas time, Killian. Time to go through Christmas racing. We're going to keep it short enough and to the point. We're going to have two podcasts now, both released within the next few hours, really. The first will be on the 26th, which is this podcast, and there will be a podcast solely for the 27th as well, which is going to be available very shortly. So if you've enjoyed listening to this, make sure to hear our thoughts on racing on the 27th. One other small bit of housekeeping. We've got two flexi tickets for Leopardstown racing to give away. They can be used anytime over the next 4 days of racing there, the 26th to the 29th. If you comment Leopardstown underneath this video, we'll pick one lucky winner randomly for those two flexi tickets, and the winner will be announced at 10 a.m. on St. Stephen's Day. So just comment Leopardstown underneath this video, and we'll reply to the comment and say you're the lucky winner, and then just get in touch with us so we can email you the ticket.
Yeah, you can message James on Facebook and he'll reply to it.
I think Killian was out last night. If you don't know about the head on him, he's he's still drunk talking about Facebook. He's got this thing when he's when he's out and he's has too many drinks, he starts posting random photos to Facebook. I don't know how he got into the habit.
It's Jimmy Slime.
But, like, nobody uses Facebook anymore, like, so it's
they do. Jimmy Slime uses it. From
You're
the
an idiot.
videos. No one knows that is, but
yeah, so, some people will know. Right, look, we'll get straight into it, Killian.
Yeah.
We're going to focus mainly on Irish racing, but we'll also be looking definitely at the English racing as well, because there is very good racing at both sides of the Irish Sea. At 1:10 at Leopardstown, Killian, we have our first graded race in Ireland on the 26th. We've got the Juvenile Hurdle. Mighty Bandit is 11-10. Carguess is 4-1. And then you've got Norburging and Calaconti, who both ran against each other only a couple of weeks ago, actually. It was at Fairyhouse, and that day Calaconti was bet by half a length, but was given £3 to Norburging. So it's not outside the realms of possibility that form could be turned around. And indeed, the market is saying otherwise. The market has Norburging shorter than the two. One that I thought was interesting there is Carguess, running under a small bit of a penalty for Willie Mullins and Kenny Alexander. Has had 3 runs all in France and won a grade 3 as well. So this is the first run in Ireland for Willie Mullins, and at 4-1, with these juvenile hurdlers, we often only see the best horses coming out around this time of year. So at that price, considering what she achieved in France, I'd be quite keen to take on the favourite with her. What do you think, Killian?
I think she's obviously, I wouldn't be an expert in French form, but she was looks a really good horse on all that form, and obviously Willie is exceptional with juveniles, especially fillies. Mighty Bandit was unreal impressive when he won his maiden hurdle. I think he's the right favourite. And I think on jockey bookings he'd pick Jack had to pick Gordon's too, and he's gone with Mighty Bandit over Calaconti. She was £4 wrong against Nuremberging, and she's getting £10 now. So she was only getting 3 last day, so it's a £7 swing. She definitely beats him. I think she's a very good each way bet as well. And like, even on the form of that race in Fairyhouse, I'd say I don't think there shouldn't be the big price discrepancy between her and Mighty Bandit. I know it's Jack obviously knows more than me, and he picked Mighty Bandit, but I'd say she's a very good each way price there at 8-1. I wouldn't say she'd be out of the first 3, and hopefully she won't have to make her own run in this time. Because I think getting the lead off someone will definitely help her as well.
Yeah, there definitely is good options. to take on that favourite with, absolutely. But I'd stick with Cargus, to be honest with you. We've got a grade 1 then at 2:20. The Racing Post Novice Chase Facile Vega will go off an extremely sharp price for this. And obviously should win by 10 lengths plus. So there's no point really spending too much time talking about it, Killian. If you were to pick one to chase Facile Vega home, who would it be?
Mozzie.
You reckon?
I'd say if I don't know, found a 50 going back to 2 miles, I wouldn't be for that, to be honest.
What about Sharjah?
No, stop.
Sharjah will be the one to chase Facile Vega home. He's the outsider of the 4 in the betting too. Don't be making faces.
And this shit again. I can't like.
I'm
No,
telling you, he will. He'll get
Mozzie.
that nice ground at Leopardstown will suit him down to the ground, literally. The ground wouldn't have suited him at all the last day. I'd be surprised if he doesn't chase him home and he's the outsider of the 4. That'd be a nice and he'd be ridden to come second too.
Yeah, Patrick would be ride him to come second.
Exactly. So that would be my forecast there. We've got other nice races at Leopardstown, really. Like, you look at that 12:35, Killian, that's unbelievable maiden hurdle.
Yeah, it's as good a maiden hurdle as I've seen in a long time. Like, you have some really good horses there. The Helvic Dream Group 1 winner on the flat. I know he wasn't hectic on his hurdles debut. Iker Desabo was a good bumper winner for Willie. James at Gate, who's now with Martin Brazel for the Mulryans, he was a very good bumper horse. And King Kingsfield back into a maiden after coming second in the Royal Bond. Probably thought he'd probably find an easier race than what he's landed in. And then the Supreme Novices winner, Mirazur West. So
Yeah.
it's absolutely unreal. So yeah, I think that's nearly the race I'm looking forward to most in Leopardstown on Stevens's day. To be honest, I think it's going to be an absolute cracker.
Yeah, it sure will. Looking at the 1:45, then we've a novice handicap hurdle. And there's one I quite like here is Clonshear River. For Eddie and Patrick Harty, or Eddie and Patrick Harty, correct. If you look back at its form last year, the first 2 maiden, he had 3 runs in maiden hurdles, and then he had 1 run in the handicap hurdle. Now, I did like him that day in the handicap hurdle too, so there is a bit of a disclaimer there. But those 2 first runs in maiden hurdles, like, you're looking at him, and he was bet about 4 or 5 lengths by Nookie Johnson, who's rated 132. The Big Dion was there that day too, rated 135. Hunter's Yarn was in between him as well. Hunter's Yarn now 142 rated horse. Then if you look at the second maiden hurdle that he ran in at Leopardstown on the same day last year, he was 3rd behind Dark Raven, who was 145 rated, and Dark Bravo, who's 42 rated. So there's a lot of horses there in the mid 130s, low 140s. And Clonshear River is only rated 118. Now, he was bet considerably well by 13 lengths in that second maiden hurdle, but he was only bet 4 or 5 in the first. His 3rd run then last year in open company before he went into handicaps was in a novice hurdle, and he was bet out the gate. But I just think when you're looking back at those 2 runs and the fact that he's only rated 115 now, there's got to be some wriggle room in that rating. Like, it just doesn't really add up. And I think he'll be a big enough price. And, he's just one that I definitely be looking at each way, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I've won in this race too. It's my gaffer for John Ryan. I think if you go back and look at his best form, it's came on sort of nicer surfaces. Like, he was beaten 12 lengths by Sander Clegane in that hurdle race in Punchestown at the festival last year, the auction final. And then he won a Limerick maiden hurdle then after that on good ground in May. There is probably some of his best performances, really. And like, he's ran reasonably all right there the last day in a listed handicap in Ferryhouse, and just sort of blew up towards the end, but he was beaten 15 lengths. He's been dropped £3 for that. Liam Quinlan is back on board again then. And yeah, I'd say like I just I look back at some of his bumper form and like thinking this guy should be a good bit better than 116, and like he's lightly raced as John Ryan horses go. Like his hurdles, his debut on the track was August 2022, and he's only had 11 runs. Like John Ryan could have had a horse make his debut in August 2023 and he'd have 11 runs by now, like, you know.
Yeah.
So I think there is something up my gaffer's sleeve. But I just don't know. I think it'll come on that nicer surface. I think we're going to get that in the 26th in Leopardstown.
Mm. Yeah, and the one thing I just even going back to my one there, like that handicap hurdle that he ran in at Punchestown was a nice bit hotter than this. Looking back on it, just even ratings wise, and that this is a step down in class for him. You know, and yeah, I just do like him. Moving on to Kempton then, Killian. We've got the 120, the Kauto Star Novices Chase. We've got Ile Francais at the top of the market coming over from France for Noel George and Amanda Zetterholm. And then Hermes Allen is also very close to the top of the betting. Where would your eye be drawn to in this race?
Um, Jesus, it's trappy enough between the top three, I'd say. The winner is going to come from one of them, obviously. But I'd nearly chance the French horse. Like he's only a 5-year-old. He's rated 151, same rating as Hermes Allen. But like I don't know Hermes Allen. He's sort of like I think he's very good on chase and debut, but he beat anything really. So I don't know. I think your man was exceptional in his 2 runs in a tie. So he's never actually really raced outside of a tie in his last like 7 or 8 runs. But yeah, I think you have to sort of respect these French horses coming over, especially Noel George as well. Like he's basically training in England, the father of Tom. So like I think he's and James Reveley is supposed to be he's an exceptional rider too, so that'll suit. But yeah, I chance LA France. He's in your 10 to follow, isn't he?
He is in my 10 to follow. He is indeed, but I'd take him on here, to be honest, with Hermes Allen. I've been waiting a long time for Hermes Allen to be stepped up to 3 miles. I firmly believe that that's his game. Even when you go back and you look at Newbury, that race, he won it impressively, but he was very weak in the betting prior to that. Paul Nichols wasn't speaking too confidently on him, saying that he might win, sort of, but whatever he did, he'd improve a lot from. And I don't know, I was just very taken by that performance that day. For people that were there that day, I think the common theme was that he didn't even look the fittest horse in the world. So I would expect him to come on leaps and bounds for that. I'd expect him to come on leaps and bounds for stepping up to 3 miles. And to be honest, I'd expect him to win here and win nicely. He'd be my one pick, I'd say, for the 26th. If I had a gun to my head and had to pick one horse, that's who I'd be going with, Hermes Allen.
Who owns him?
That's besides the point. Fergie may or may not.
No, he definitely owns
He
him. Yeah.
does, yeah, but that's besides the point. Like that's nothing to do with it. You know, he was a very good horse last year. Things just didn't work out for him towards the end of the year, but prior to that, he had shown very nice form. Did everything very nicely, and 3 miles is going to see him to best effect now, I would imagine. We've got the Grade 1 Christmas Hurdle then, Killian, a bit of a non-event, but great to see such a superstar in Constitution Hill back on the track.
Yeah, great. Looking forward to it a lot now. Hopefully he absolutely dismantles them.
Yeah.
And he should dismantle them. Like he's rated about 20 pounds, 30 pounds higher than them. Like what's it, 26 pounds above the next in the betting, who's actually a nice horse as well. But no, it's a complete non-event. Yeah.
You'll have a nice each way bet.
No.
The 230 then at Kempton, we've got the King George, Allaho towards the top of the betting, Braveman's Game, Shishkin, the Real Whacker, Royal Pagay and Jerry Colombe, obviously both not going. Hewick and Frodan also there, Killian. I know you were keen to take on Allaho after you saw his performance in Clonmel. In the Clonmel Oil, you were thinking that run would just take a lot out of him after being off the track for 560 days. I think it was, you know, just on that ground, you thought it could knock him back quite a bit. Are you taking him on here?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is savage, this race. Like think about like everything in it wants wants to go forward. Allaho, Brave Man's Game, the Whacker, Hewick, Frodon, Bar Shishkin, who mightn't even jump off like. But the other five all sort of want to go forward, and it's going to be fascinating. Like this is going to be end to end gallop. Like Shishkin, if he jumps off, is going to be he'll be fucking he's going to be outpaced down the back. Lads were talking about Jerry Colombe getting outpaced in the King George. Don't mind that. Shishkin's even slower, I'd say. And he's going to be he's going to be under tremendous pressure. Like Frodon maybe 3 years ago might have been able to go this gallop. They'll drop Frodon straight away. I think the blogger is given 500 to 1 on Frodon. I saw on Twitter. His Twitter team must have fucked up there or something, putting up the prices. I'd say I have a few quid on the Whacker and Hewick on the exchange win only, I'd say.
Will you? Yeah.
I'm definitely taking on Allaho. Like I just think that ground was it was a disgrace really in Clonmel, like, and it's not the first time you'll see bottomless in Clonmel, and like it's not, I'd say, knocked the shite of him. He came home drunk, like.
Yeah.
And I know he's had a nice break since then, but like when was that, about 6 weeks ago? What date was it? The 9th of November, so 7 weeks ago. But like, I don't know, I'd say for a horse that was off the track so long, I'd say it knocked the shite out of him. And yeah, you can't trust Brave Man's Game after losing to Royal Piguy in the Haydock. And
Yeah.
I think he's potentially left the King George behind him in Haydock. He shouldn't have ran there. If he didn't run there, I'd really fancy a Brave Man's Game, but can't trust him. So I chance the other two. And Gavin Sheehan, we were talking about him here about being in form, like, and like he's ridden two huge winners in handicaps there. And I'd love to see Gavin Sheehan win the King George. Like, imagine Shark won the King George. It'd be unbelievable. Like, you'd nearly book flights to Kempton, like, because it'd be some crack over there.
It'd be unbelievable.
No, I'd love to see Hewick win.
Yeah, and I'd agree. I'd love to see him win too. I think it's a funny race for betting in that, like, it's wide open and you've question marks over everyone really. You've mentioned Allaho, Brave Man's Game. I couldn't be in more agreement with you. You couldn't back him really, not after what we've seen this year. He's been too disappointing and he doesn't seem to take his racing that well either. Shishkin, so many question marks over him, even aside from the fact if he runs or not. Nicky Henderson was very keen to get a good run into him, which he didn't really. So
he didn't at all, sure.
Sorry?
He didn't get a run into him at all, sure.
No, exactly, yeah. The real Whacker, he had a savage way to lug around in Paddy Power. Yeah. But the one thing about Hewick is that this has been well and truly his target all year. This has always been the plan. So if we got a big run out of him, that would be great.
It's going to be nice ground as well. That's crucial to Hewick there. Like, and lads have to remember, Hewick was running a race in the Gold Cup. Now, he got a bit tired. I just think that maybe the class of the Gold Cup and just the extra distance maybe caught up with him. But geez, he was running a fucking monster race in the Gold Cup when he came down. Like, he probably would have been. He'd have been in front of Protectorat. Like, he'd have been 4th or 5th probably. He'd have been. Yeah, he'd have probably battled away there with Conflated and Noble Yates for 3rd and 4th, and that would have been a huge run. Like, and as Shark said it,
3 miles took him again.
Yeah, and like Shark said it, and I agree with him 100%. He said all these horses have had problems and there's question marks, and he goes, his lad is the only one that really hasn't, because he hasn't ran. Yeah, because they've been waiting for this.
Yeah, spot on.
So I think Hewick could really run a big race, and like, he hasn't got an awful lot to find on Brave Man's Game and Shishkin. He's a bit to find in Allaho on ratings, but I'm going on Allaho on the assumption that he's not the same horse. He's not a 176 horse anymore, and the fact that Clonmel would have knocked a fair bit out of him, I think.
Yeah. Right, Killian, we'll move on to Limerick, the 133. We've got the lines of Limerick Jaguar Land Rover Novice Hurdle, a grade 2 over 2 miles 7. It's always a very testing 2 miles 7. I see the official going is only soft down there, which is unusual.
That's a lie.
Usually bottomless. But Search for Glory is at the top of the betting, and Stellar Story is second at 7-1. Search for Glory, I thought, was very impressive the last day in Cork, winning a similar sort of stamina test, beating Solitary Man by 3 lengths, and just the manner that he sort of pulled away from them that day, I thought was quite taken, and I would think that he'd take all the beating here.
Yeah, I probably agree with you. And it looks like on jockey bookings, he's the he's the Gordon #1 there with Sam Ewing taking him and Donna Myler brought in for Stellar Story. Yeah, I'd probably be inclined to agree with you. I think Henry's horse, Ben Peranza, was, I'd say, maybe, I don't know, will the real bottomless stuff suit her? Maybe she might. uh, I think she probably would like the bottomless, I suppose, but the form of her race in Tremor isn't nothing hectic at all. Like, but I think the step up and trip will probably suit her because it took her a long time to get going, and Tremor's a real tight track as well. But she might be a small bit overpriced, around 9 to 1. But yeah, I probably agree with you on Search for Glory. Is just that second season novice, the bit of experience behind him. It's gonna take a lot of winning this race, and he seems to have found the winning formula this year anyway.
Yeah, hardened up that bit. Was there anything else at Limerick that caught your eye?
Yeah, there was. So in the 208, Sarah Barra is actually sort of that form tying in with Search for Glory from
Mm,
the Stayers Hurdle race in Cork, and like she ran a scandalous race, at 66 to 1, and she only got £4 for beating 7 lengths in that race by Search for Glory, who's a 132 horse. So you'd have to imagine her going back in against her own sex in a mare's handicap, um, that she's going to be hard beaten, to be honest, there. And like, I don't think the step down and trip will be any problem. Like, the ground is going to be, make it a stamina sapping. You'd have stamina sapping 2 mile races, But
yeah.
yeah, I just think maybe a mark of 114, just based on that piece of form, and also like she ran a really good race behind Will doing a novice hurdle as well in Thurles before that. So I think, yeah, I'd say that, excuse me, that mark is probably underestimating her a small bit. And like, she's very experienced. She'd 4 runs and point to points, plenty of runs over hurdles, and improved with every run really. And then she ran a chase race up in Ballinrobe and got well beat. But I'd say 114 is well within her reach anyway. And
Mm.
I think she should win this. Um,
Okay. Okay, Killian, that wraps up Limerick, and we'll briefly look at Downryle then. A few nice races, a few nice horses entered here and there. I think you like something in the first in the maiden hurdle.
Yeah, he's going to be no price. Mossy Finn Park in the 2.5 mile maiden there. Darrow O'Keefe's gone up to Downryle instead of riding in the graded race in Limerick. He's beaten 6 lengths by Predator's Gold in a maiden hurdle in Punchestown over a similar trip. And I know Predator's Gold is a horse you really like. So he's a certainty really, like, because I was looking at Darrow's other rides, and he's the only one that's nailed on, to be honest. So he's definitely going to win.
Yeah, and one that I like then in the second race, actually, the EBF Auction Maiden Hurdle, is the other Mozzie. Stepping into Maiden Hurdle Company for the first time. Had some nice form in bumpers, particularly when you're going back looking at Tipperary in May of this year, was bet 14 lengths by What's Up Darling. But the form of that race has worked out. The form of his second at Galway has really worked out too. That was back towards the start of the season in October. Third and fourth in that race, Tactical Affair and the Graveyard Bookie both came and won their maiden hurdle first time out after that race. So he'd be one that I'd like in the EBF Auction Maiden Hurdle. Now, albeit he is giving way to the field, but I'd say he does have a bit of class, and I'd excuse him his last race. I don't think that was a fair running for the horse. Then when we're looking at the 233 at Downryle, it's a hunter's chase, but it's probably their main race on the card. It's always a cracker. Like, if you're going back there looking at previous years, Vosselet won it in 2022, Dorking Cock 21, Billaway. Even go back further, you've got Gilgamboa, Fox Rock, On the Fringe, horses like that. It always attracts a very good field. And like, when you're going down looking at it this year, we've got Burns Loch, Ramillies, the Bosses Oscar, Vosselet, a cracking race, Killian.
Yeah, it's on the line as well. He was the champion hunter chase last year.
Mm,
So like, the Savage race, yeah, and the David Christie Fox or Hunter Chase program is alive and well. He's got plenty of them running there again. Ferns Lock, Ramilles, Vosselet, Astaman. So yeah, he's still going strong after sort of blowing up last year. He came away with nothing. But
mm.
yeah, the boss is Oscar is flying it in point to points. He's obviously high class horse when he was on the track, especially over hurdles. Ramirez as well, very good horse. So it's going to be an interesting race. Interesting how they price it up, to be honest, as well. It's a pity Sam Crow didn't actually run, which I suppose he's never going to run the bosses, Oscar and Sam Crow. But I would like to see Sam Crow there.
Yeah, it would have been nice. Definitely, to see him there. Killian, we'll look at Aintree then before we finish up. We've got a veterans chase at 12:30. Disappointing that there's only 4 runners there. I always love these races, but there's one there, Mac Totty. I'm not sure what price he'll be. He'll probably be towards the top of the betting. But he loves Aintree now. He particularly the Grand National fences. His 2 from 3 over them, has never run on any other on the Millmake horse there. But I'd say looking at it and looking at the other runners in the race, like Top Phil Ben hasn't completed in his last 2 starts. Iblio hasn't run for 2.5 years. And then Riders on the Storm, again, possibly could put up a good performance, but Mac Totty would be my pick there. To be honest, I don't know if you have anything in that race, Killian, or will we move on?
No, definitely not.
And then we've got the Grade 1 Tolworth at 105. I believe you quite like a horse in here.
Yeah, Fair and Glory, I'd say, should take a bit of beating there, to be honest. And like, I know probably the Royal Bond wasn't a real vintage renewal, but I just don't think there's anything stand out here, to be honest. And like, you have to really admire his attitude. I think he's going to be a better horse when he's up to trip as well. But this is very winnable, and it's great work from Gordon to identify it, because it looks a weak race, to be honest. One at a bigger price than the French horse coming over, July Flower. She's one that was on my radar last year. I actually backed her in the bumper that Dice Sardinos won. So she ran a couple of times and won a Grade 1 bumper, the AQPS race over in Fontainebleau, November 22, and went to Henry de Bromhead. Only ever had 1 run for him, and that was when she was well beaten, but she was really well back that day, and I think she'd been working really well as well. But she went back to France under the same owner. I don't know what his buzz is, but he's gone back to France, and her last run she was second in a Grade 1 in a tie. And like, she was only beaten 2.5 lengths there by 1-2 on shot, and seems to have ran a really good race. And again, as I said, it's a winnable race, and coming over, Felix de Giles is going to take the ride. He's one of the top jockeys over in France, and she's about 12 to 1 shot, and like, you easily see her coming and hitting, making the frame here. But yeah, I'd say I hope Fair and Glory wins. I like to see the Irish go over plunder Grade 1s.
Okay. Very good. That wraps it up, Killian. Just before we finish it off completely, do you have 2 or 3 best bets for the 26th? There's a lot of good racing there. I'll go first with one of my selections. I'm going to go Hermes Allen. He's about 11 to 4 there at the moment, I think, for the Kauto Star Novices chase, and I think he'll take all the bean. Yeah,
I'll go with Caliconte in the juvenile Grade 2 each way.
Okay. And I'll give you one more. I go Clonshire River each way in the novice handicap hurdle, 145 at Leopardstown. A great chance.
Yeah. I'm just looking here. I'd probably go Fair and Glory, to be honest.
Would you?
Yeah, I'd say it's a bad race, and like, he's bringing Grade 1 form to the table. Doesn't matter how much you rate it, Grade 1 form is there, and these lads have to get to his level in my eyes, and I don't know, will they? So I'm going to go with Fair and Glory. He's 11 to 2.
Okay. Yeah, you happy with 2? I'd love to get one more.
Oh, Jesus, don't fucking do that to me.
Search for Glory. You don't have to.
My gaffer, maybe, in Leopardstown, I think is definitely better than his current mark.
Yeah, and I go Search for Glory. I think it's a very big price, 7 to 2. After what he did on similar ground in Cork, similar test of stamina, he should be well above the rest of the field there, I'd reckon. Stellar Story, Main Danger, but Gordon second string, and it doesn't have the form in the book to Search for Glory has. That wraps it up, Killian. So this is for the 26th, obviously. There'll be a preview out for the 27th. Probably when you're watching this, it'll be out as well. So if you want to go and have a look at that, by all means do. But the very best of luck, and I hope you all have a lucky day. Thank you.
Thanks.
It's Honeysuckle and Rachel Blackmore, racing's golden jewel!